Hello, and welcome back to Invitation to Puzzles, where today I have a German Whispers puzzle for you. So we have normal Sudoku rules. So again, we need the digits 1 through 9 in every row, column, and box. And then we have these green lines sort of dancing all over the grid, which I guess is basically all we have except for this 4. Uh, And these green lines, what they tell you is that if you look at a digit on the line, let's say that digit is a 7, it tells me the digits that are next to it on the line, they need to be at least 5 away from 7. So that means these would need to be from 1 or 2 only. So this is a very common constraint that you'll see. And it's fairly popular because, as you'll see, it tends to involve coloring. Coloring is very fun, as I hope we will see shortly. But I want to sort of reveal to you the sort of the reasons why coloring works. I promise not to say the word bipartite. The first thing to notice about these green lines, sorry, I should say, I'm still getting used to my prattle for this. There's a link down in the description if you want to try the puzzle, and then I'll walk through it. So, link down in the description, give it a try, and then we'll be back in just a moment, and I'll explain it to you. All right, is everyone gone off doing the puzzle? Good. Now I can tell you the things about German Whispers. So the first thing about German Whispers is that these green lines are immune to 5s. And the reason why I say they're immune to 5s is that if I did put a 5 on this line, then I would need to put a number next to this that differed by 5 by more than 5. By at least 5. But if you go down, you get to 0, and if you go up, you get to 10, and both of those are problematic. So we can't do that. Okay. But the second is that if I sort of break the digits into what I usually call the blue digits and the orange digits, or the low digits and the high digits, that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 6, 7, 8, 9. That is the two sides of the 5, which by tradition on this channel is green. But if we sort of split numbers around the forbidden digit, then every time I move along a German Whispers, I bounce back and forth between a blue digit and an orange digit. And that's just because the way that I've set up the blue digits and the orange digits, there's no pair of blue digits that are 5 apart or more, and there's no pair of orange digits that are 5 apart or more. So I can only put blue digits next to orange digits, and I can only put orange digits next to blue digits. And so very often, a puzzle that involves German Whispers will come down to coloring basically the whole grid in blue and orange. And then upon coloring the whole grid in blue and orange, sort of using facts like, well, I know there's only 4 blue cells in every row, column, and box, and 4 orange cells in every row, column, and box, to sort of disentangle exactly where the various digits are. Okay. So that being said, you might anticipate that I'm going to start by coloring this for blue. But I'm actually not going to start by coloring this digit blue. Instead, what I'm actually going to do is make up 2 fake colors. And so my fake colors are going to be yellow and purple. They could be any pair of colors you want, but I'm picking yellow and purple. Okay. And so I'm going to look at this cell here. And I don't really know what this cell is. But I know it's something. And that thing is either orange or blue. It's either low or high. I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to let yellow stand in for that. So this yellow is secretly standing in for blue or orange. Okay. And because the line alternates, that means that this thing is the one that's not yellow. And the one that's not yellow, I have just declared to be purple. And so I actually know that these things are going to just bounce back and forth like this all the way along this line like this. So what we have here, actually, if you look at it closely, is we have all 4 purple digits in column 8, and we have all 4 yellow digits in column 9. I can't make any more digits yellow in this column, and I can't make any more digits purple in this column. Okay. Now, that might not seem super useful at first, but it's actually going to be incredibly useful when I actually start to think about what the numbers actually are. So I'm going to just write in the numbers down here. Okay, so when I think about how the numbers are situated around the 5, I can sort of group these two together. These are the super extreme digits. The super extreme digits are actually the least restricted in a German whisper puzzle. And that's because, well, if I think about what digits are there that are 5 away from 1, well, all of 6, 7, 8, and 9 work. Or which ones are there that are 5 away from 9? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 all work. So this can go next to lots of things. That's not a problem. Then there's the sort of medium-ishly extreme digits, like this 2 and this 8. And I'm sort of thinking about these sort of living as a pair. They're a little more restricted because the 2 can no longer go next to the 6, right? The 1 could go next to the 6. The 2 can only go next to the 7, 8, or 9. The 8 can only go next to the 1, 2, 3. That's all well and good. Then sort of if I move in the 3 and the 7, they're getting ever more restricted. Warning, 3 and 7 are not, in fact, 5 apart. They're only 4 apart. So 3 actually can only go next to 8 and 9. 7 can only actually go next to 1 and 2. But the big flashing digits that one really wants to pay attention to, that I will sort of put the flashing sirens or whatever through, are the 4 and the 6. And the reason why the 4 and the 6 are so special is because the 4 can only go next to the 9. The 6 can only go next to the 1. And so that's a real problem when you have to go and put these numbers on whisper lines. Okay. So basically what I want to do is I want to think for each of these cells, I kind of want to ask myself, hey, is this a 1, 9? Is it a 2, 8? Is it a 3, 7? Or is it a 4, 6? Okay. And the thing to note is actually, for example, this cell, it can't be a 4, 6. And how do I know it can't be a 4, 6? Well, I know it can't be a 4, 6 because 4 and 6 are only 5 away from 1 and 9. And so if this were a 4, 6, let's just say this was a 4. Well, that's going to make both of these 9. It's the only digit that can go next to a 4. If this is a 6, it's going to make both of these digits a 1. That's not going to work either. And so that digit can't be 4, 6. But the same is true of that digit and that digit. And the same is true of that digit, and that digit. But that is going to give me my first digit in the puzzle, and I'll give you a second to squint at the screen and see why. Namely, I've got all 4 yellow digits in column 9, so one of them has to be the yellow 4, 6. And which one is it? Well, it's going to have to be that one, right? Because we said none of these can be the yellow 4, 6. So this digit here, it's the yellow 4, 6, and because of this kindly granted given digit here of a 4, we actually know this is a 6. Okay. And so with that, I can lose the temporary coloring, and I can actually color this 6 as high, this 4 as low, and then I can actually color all of these cells as being low and all of these cells as being high. And I know what low digit this is even. Namely, this low digit here is a 1. We'll have to decide exactly what the rest of these digits are in a second. In fact, actually, let's do that now. One of these blue digits is a 4. Which one is it? And again, I know one of them is a 4 because I know that these are a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple now. And again, those two aren't 4, so this one is. And 4 only goes next to 9. So therefore, that digit is a 9. And if you want, we can even fill in these two are a 2-3 pair, these two are a 7-8 pair. Okay. How do we decide which is which? And this is a little bit sneaky. This is a step that gets people stuck on these things a lot of the time, but you squint and see if you can see it. It has to do with this cell. And in particular, it has to do with these two. And the thing you have to notice here is, I don't know which, but I know for sure one of these two cells is 7. And if one of these two cells is 7, this digit can't be a 3 because 3 and 7 are only 4 apart. And so this digit has to be a 2, in fact, is what has happened. That digit is a 3. And now 3, we said, can't go next to 7, so that digit is an 8, and that digit is a 7. And so we get our 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 going in over here. Now, basically, we unraveled this whole shape. What if we try and unravel this shape in the same way? Well, it's the same shape. And this is a pretty good idea anytime you see a puzzle with a repeated shape. You often want to look at the repeated shape because often it means something. And so I'm just going to temporarily yellow-purple color this shape just to remind you how that worked. And so, again, sort of at first glance, I don't know whether yellow is blue or orange, but I know it's blue or orange. And then I asked the same question about the 4, 6. Where's the yellow 4, 6? And the yellow 4, 6 in this column is going to have to go here. And it's not a 6 because there's a 6 looking at it. And so therefore, this is the yellow 4, 6. It's a 4. And so much like what we did in the other column, we can get our blues in there. And so we'll now have a 4 here. 4 only goes next to 9. And we can repeat the same line of questioning. Where's the 6 in these orange cells? Well, 6 only connects to one thing. So it's not there or there. It's there. 6 only connects to 1. So these are a 2, 3. These are a 7, 8. Except this 7, 8 pair definitely contains a 7. So this can't be a 3. It's a 2. So that's the 3, but 3 can't go next to 7. So that's an 8, and that's a 7. And we get this pattern running down over here. Okay. So that's sort of the beginning of this puzzle that we can contemplate. We've got all of these digits sort of filled in. And the next thing that I want to look at is this weird Z. Now, I admit it's not an incredibly appealing weird Z. But the reason I'm looking at it is because it's in the grid twice. And again, anytime you see a pattern in the grid twice, probably whoever is making it, in this case it was me, but it was me like 2.5 years ago or something, so I don't have any recollection of it. But probably these were added to the grid at the same time, if it's a repeated pattern, which means probably these were the next things added, and then probably these little dinky things were added like at the very end. Although if as an exercise, if you want, you can figure out the coloring on this Z, because you actually can, but that's not what I'll look at here. I'll look at this. Okay, so the thing to notice about this is in this line, and again, I'll sort of recall the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 version of the world, there's no 1 and 9 anywhere. So this digit here needs to be adjacent to two digits on the line, neither of which is 1 or 9. And so just to remind you, I'm just going to write this again across the bottom. What digits are there that are in fact adjacent to two digits that aren't 1 or 9? So we're just basically deleting those from the world because there's a 1 and a 9 in this row already. Well, 5 is only adjacent to one thing. 4 and 6 are only adjacent to one thing, even with 1 and 9. But these 3 7s now are basically now sort of out, because the 3 is not adjacent to the 7. The 3 is only adjacent to the 8. The 7 is only adjacent to the 2. So this digit here, actually, it can't be 3, 7 either. This digit is only 2 or 8. And the two things that the 2 or 8 are adjacent to are either the 2, 3 or the 7, 8 of the other color. Okay, that is the point here. And that exact same argument applies to this digit. This digit can't be 1 or 9, but it's adjacent to two things that aren't 1 or 9. And so it can only be 2 or 8. And then the only things it's going to be next to in this row are going to be the 2, 3, 7, 8 of the other color. Okay, so we've got all of that in. And notice there's a 2, 8 pair here. So that actually tells me that there's no 2, 8 anywhere here in this column. And that makes me look at 2s and 8s and actually notice that 2 and 8 actually look across this box, and now they look down this column. And what that does is that actually tells me that these two cells are a 2, 8 pair. Okay, so just to go over that again, I can ask myself, where did the 2 and 8 go in box 5? They don't go in column 5. They don't go in row 4 or row 5. And so they only go in these two exact cells. So these two exact cells, they have to be 2, 8 exactly. Now, it's probably a good time to ask myself which digit this is. Is it 2 or is it 8? And it being 8 doesn't work. And so why doesn't it work for this to be 8? It doesn't work for this to be 8 because the only things 8 is next to are 1, 2, and 3. But if I did that, that would require me to make both of these digits a 1. Okay. Here's a different way. Here's a different way that I saw the same thing before. If you look at how this Z is colored, yes, it is my signature. If you look at how this Z is colored, these are the same color and these are the same color. Well, what color is this? Well, if it's blue, I need these two digits to not be 2, 3, or 4, because none of them can be 2, 3, or 4. If these were blue, it would have to be 1 and 1, which doesn't work. So these aren't blue, these are orange, which then makes these blue. So in other words, this is the 2 and this is the 8. And we can sort of continue our coloring around like that. That's not a 2, that's not an 8, that's not an 8, that's not a 2. And so these are digits that are adjacent to 2 and aren't 8. So these are 7 and 9. Except that, as you can see, this one can't be 7, so it's a 9. And that one's a 7. Which means this one can only be a 1, because that's the only digit that is next to 7 that's not 2, which this cell double sees. Okay, now this is a 3. If you look at this, and this is a 1, because those are the numbers that are next to 8, and they're each the only eligible cell of their color. Okay, now you might ask, how did that help? which I would say was in fact an excellent question. And I am not sure yet. Uh, let's see. I could yellow purple color these if I really wanted to. But I want to ask if that's really what I want to do with my life before I get into all of that. Let's see. There is lots of sort of Sudoku that plausibly could be done. Uh, like, for example, I see that this cell can only possibly be 4 or 5, but I think probably I want to think about these some more. So I think I actually am going to color these. Okay, so I'll do my usual yellow purple. And I know, by the way, that these are oppositely colored. And the reason I know they're oppositely colored is because these are a 2-8 pair. Okay, so these are all going to be purple. These are all going to be yellow. What does that reveal to me is the question. I'm not sure that actually reveals a whole lot to me. Uh, Maybe I do want to think about Sudoku. That's a terrifying notion. Let's see. And this is the only clue that I have left, I suppose. Uh, okay, so I see. This cell. This cell is actually the key here. This cell, if I look at it, it's not 1, 2, or 3. It sees all of those by Sudoku. And so if this is low, it's a 4, except it can't be a 4 because that can't be a 9. So in fact, yellow is not blue. Yellow is orange. And purple is blue. Sneaky. Okay. So if purple is blue, then I can go ahead and fill in the 2 and the 8 like that. Okay, and so this is the blue 3-7. The blue 3-7 is 3. And then that's a 2 now because it's now the 2-3-7. And so now this is the orange 3-7, which is 7, and that's the 8. Okay. And now this is only able to be a 9 because it's next to a 3. This is only able to be a 1 because it's next to a 7. And now this digit is a naked 2, meaning that if I look at what digit it can possibly be, it's blue, so it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4. But it's not a 1, it's not a 3, and it's not a 4, so it's only a 2. A naked single is just a cell that if you filled in all the candidates, there'd only be one that could actually be. So if you hear that term, that is all that means. Okay, so we get that. On the basis of we have a clue we haven't filled in yet, so maybe we should look at it. I'll look at this clue, and I'll note this cell can't be blue, because the only blue left in the box is 4, but if this were 4, this would have to be a 9. That doesn't work. So this is orange, which makes this blue. And this, therefore... Oh, in fact, it's a 4. If you look at this cell's also a naked single. It's not 1, 2, or 3, but it is blue. So that's a 4, and that's a 9. Okay. And so presumably from here, we've got an awful lot of Sudoku to do. This is a 7 or an 8, and I don't know which yet. Okay. Go, gadget Sudoku, I suppose. Okay, let's just highlight digit by digit and see if there's any gimmies. See, I see ones in a few places. What about twos? I see these two twos look at this. Oh, sorry, that didn't actually do anything. Let's see, that doesn't look super helpful. threes. Okay, so I can at least place a 3. Okay, I was afraid I was never going to place any digits in this puzzle ever again. That digit's a 3 because when I double click, by the way, you double click to highlight all of the digits of the same digit, which is helpful for this kind of moment. That's going to be a 3. And now that is sneaky useful because it tells me what this digit is. Namely this digit, and so you can always sort of be on the lookout for these. It sees every orange digit, it sees 6, 7, 8, and 9, and it sees every blue digit in the box. So this digit is now a 5. Okay. And once I know that, then I can actually do some more coloring, which can be really helpful with your scanning. So these are now orange because I've got my 5 and all of my blue digits. And these digits are all blue because within this column, I have my 5 and all my orange digits. So blue is all that's left. Okay. And so for some of these, we can write it in like that's a 4 because it sees 1, 2, 3 in the row. That's a 1 because it sees everything else in the box. Okay, these are a 2, 3 in some order. One of these has to be a 5. I don't know which yet. This is an 8, though, while I am filling in things, so that's a 9. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. 7 in this box. Yes, 7 is placed in box 9. If you just look across and down, that is a 7. Let's see. And so these two are a 5, 6 pair, and I guess that's also a 5 or a 6. Let's see. Has this helped at all with my 2s? No. Not especially. Let's see. What is left in this row? Oh, these are both orange because we've got everything else in the row. So these are a 6, 7 pair, which is the sort of thing that feels like it should be very useful, but I'm not completely convinced that it is. 6. Where does 6 go in box 2? Now 6 goes here. And so now that cell sees every blue and every orange. It sees every orange in the row, and it sees all but 1 in the column, all but 1 low in the row. Namely, it sees all but 1 in the row, but then it sees 1 in the column. So this is our next 5, which, as you can see, 5s are very helpful to sort of place because they help a lot with the coloring. So that is a 1. A lot may have been overselling slightly how much it would help, but what can you do? Let's see. 2, 2, 2. Okay, these are a 4 and an 8. That's the way to look at these are a 2 and an 8. But I don't even have to think about the 2. Where does the 8 go in this box would be the way to say that. So then that's a 7, that's a 6, that's a 7, and this is the 2. Okay, so we've got all of that. Okay, and so now 2s in this box have now gotten pushed here, which gives me the 3 and the 2 over there. 3 in this box is now placed like that. I now have every blue in this row, at least. This is, by the way, this is the last cell in its column, so that is a 4. Let's see. 3 in this box is placed here by Sudoku. So we've got that. So now, so this cell now within the box sees all of the blue digits, and within the column sees all of the orange digits. So this is green. That's our 5. And so these are both orange. They are 8 and 9. And now this is our 4 for the row. So now this row now has everything in blue, at least. This row has everything in blue. Yeah, these are a 5-6 pair, I suppose. Oh, where does the 1 go in this box? We might as well do. There is the 1. Now, where does the 7 in the box go? The 7 in the box goes there. So now that's the 5. So now once you know where a 5 is, then you can really start asking what color something is. Because like this cell sees every blue in the row and it sees the 5 in the column. So this cell's definitely orange. And so it is a 6 or a 9. This cell sees every blue, so it's definitely orange. By sees every blue, what I mean is it sees 1, 2, 4, and 3. I kind of suspect that what I should have said all along is where does the 3 go in box 5, and just notice that the 3 was placed here, and that would have been less complicated. But we don't always have to do things in a less complicated way. We can allow the complexities into our life now and then. So anyway, those are a 6-9 pair. Is the upshot. The 5 in this box is placed here. Let's see. This is now the other orange for the row. This is the other orange for the row, and it's an 8 or a 9, except it's doubly not 9. So this is the 8. That's the 9, that's the 8. Let's see. These are a 5-6 pair. So this is the 1. That's what I should take away from this. Okay, those are a 5-6 pair as well. Let's see. So this is not... Oh, this is... okay. So this is not blue, and it's also not orange. So this cell is a naked 5 as well. It's the only thing it can be. It's handy, because now I can ask where... Oh, not quite. Well, I can fill in... This cell now has to be orange. So that's a 6. So that's blue. No zeta. There's 4 blues and 4 oranges in the column, so that's green. So that is a 5, which now means this is the 5 for this box, which means this is the last orange. It's a 6. This is the 7 for this row, which means this is the 4. This is orange. Now, at some point, the coloring stops being useful. But as noted, I enjoy the coloring, so I keep doing it anyway most of the time. But feel free, if you want to blaspheme the Sudoku gods, to just stop coloring at some point and just declare yourself done with the puzzle. No one has to know unless you tell them. But there we go. Okay, so I hope you gave that a shot. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. This will teach you basically everything you need to know about German whispers for when they show up in puzzles. So this is, I would say, this is probably harder than most of the puzzles I do around here, but it has all the sort of the nuggets of truth that one needs to tackle a typical German whispers puzzle. All right, but that is going to be all that we have for now. We'll be back with another puzzle soon, so stay tuned. See you soon.